The freedom fighter and poet Sarojini Naidu had this to say about the Asian Koel in this melancholy kind of lovesick poem called Love Song from the North. Of course, she mentions several other birds, but I just want to draw your attention to what she has to say about the Asian Koel. And let me read out this poem to you. She says, I hear the black coil's slow, tremulous wooing, and sweet in the garden the calling and cooing of passionate bulbuls and dove. But what is their music to me, Papiha? Songs of their laughter and love, Papiha, to me, forsaken of love. And she's saying this with sadness, but there's also this irony, and which is I don't think she realized it at the point because culturally in India, the coil is associated with love, with being mellifluous, with being just spectacularly welcome because here it is at right at the start of spring, just when mango flowers are filling up these trees. So she kind of associated with love, but I don't think that she realized that generation after generation of Asian coils at least were deprived of parental love. And there's a reason why. The Asian coil is what you might call a brood parasite. Basically, they take their eggs and they lay them in the nests of other birds. And then that's it. That's it. End of parenting. They carry on doing what they have to. But actually, scientists tell us it's not that simple. For example, we know from scientists that if you look at three sites, agricultural fields, residential areas, urban areas, and in fact, places where tree plantations have taken place, coils will choose tree plantations or nests in tree plantations to kind of put their egg in because that is likely to kind of hide the nest and give their future chick a better chance. Not just that, they also do other things which are a little bit more about being tough, giving their chicks a tough and better chance. And that is that sometimes they'll go and they'll just remove an egg, from the nest. And you might say, oh my God, that's very lazy. It's not lazy at all because they have to decide whose nests are they going to kind of lay these eggs of theirs in. And the birds they choose are called hosts. Half the time, the hosts are not particularly evolved because they actually don't know that there's an interloper egg and they're going to be bringing up somebody else's children, which is not the usual pattern in nature. So typically, some of the birds that they will choose would be crows, they would be mynas, even in the Himalayas, you have red-billed blue magpies. And the amazing thing is that the eggs don't really resemble the host's eggs, so it's not that they've really tried to be identical and they've not tried to mimic anything at all. That makes it quite brazen. But that's not all. Sometimes they'll even throw out an egg so that there's no food scarcity when their own chicks are born. I have read in the literature that sometimes the mother coil, sits and watches from a distance, making sure things work out fine for her unborn and then born chick and hopes that it grows well. So it's not that they're totally detached, but for sure, none of them would have experienced direct parental love. Now, there's a lot to say about this coil, but I think what really hits me the most is how we now react to its call. Most of us in urban cities really struggle when it starts calling, in March or so, sometimes even earlier, and it calls around 4:35, and typically many of us groan and say, "Oh my God, it started again." And I used to be one of those people because I would hate to wake up that early, even though I just had to go and get educated. But what dawns on me now is that the coil and its cooing is actually associated with spring. But just look at this year, 2026. We didn't have much of a spring. We had this very tepid winter, fluctuatingly cold, fluctuatingly warm, and then suddenly we had this muddle of a season, which was warm, then we had heat stress, and then suddenly we had showers. And we've never had a so called spring like this. So, in fact, our spring has been stolen by climate change, but not the call of the cuckoo, which kind of heralds a new season. It's almost like a bridge, and you hear it right to the summer. And I want to say this because many people believe that the best birds you ever see are migratory birds, but we have a lot of birds of our own, and the cuckoo is one of them. And when it calls so early in the morning that while we find it frustrating, it's kind of like an alarm clock for a season where sometimes it's just too difficult to be outdoors at noon. So it kind of tells us to start early. I think what's really wonderful about this bird is that sometimes it's in trees and you can only hear it. And then you kind of struggle and you see a movement, and you really see it well when it flies. And the male is this absolutely spectacular black colored bird with a round eye that looks like a drop of blood in its head because it's this blood red jewel. And then, of course, there's the female. Typically, it flies out after the female, and the female has this brownish black color, and it has these characteristic, white speckles all over it, and you cannot miss them. And they cry and they call as they leave the nest. But in case you do read any poetry about them, including from Kalidas, remember one thing: it's not that much of a love story. It's a very transactional call that's happening because they're only going to produce these eggs and abandon them. And sometimes there could be more than one female bird that the male pursues. And for sure, they're not together for life. So when you do see the koel, which you will in this season in most parts of India, at least most parts of North and Peninsular India, watch it with awe, watch it with absolute amazement, because this bird could be the last thing that we know about spring as our ancestors knew it, as Kalidas knew it in the 5th century. I think that's something to think about and something to enjoy while we can.